Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this opportunity, I would like to provide you with a sample drag and drop questions that might appear in your actual CSSP exam. So beside the normal or the usual multiple choice questions, you probably will experience the question that will, basically test your knowledge and understanding about several terminologies or definitions in your CSSP CBK. Now this drag and drop questions only applicable to the latest CAT or computer adaptive test. Let's have a look, or let's get started with the sample questions. Okay, now drag and drop question number 1. Match the types of authentication tokens to their description. So on the left side, you have the terms or definitions, while on the right side you'll see the meaning or the explanation about the terms and or definitions, such as the first one here: memorized secret token, out of band token, lookup secret token, and pre-registered knowledge token. Excuse me. What do you think would be the correct answer or correct match? Can you match those terms and definitions with the correct explanation or the meaning? Okay, let's start counting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is, okay, so let me read this. Memorized secret token is a secret between the subscriber and credential service provider that is typically character strings. That is memorized secret token. Now, out-of-band token is a physical token that is uniquely addressable and can receive a verifier selected secret for one-time use. Now, the lookup secret token is a physical or electronic token that stores a set of secrets between the claimant and the credential service provider. And finally, the pre-registered knowledge token is a series of responses to a set of prompts or challenges established by the subscriber and credential service provider during the registration process. So that's how you match the terminology and or definition with the actual explanation about the terms or definition. All right, so let's move on to question number 2. So on the left side, we have the Digest Integrated Windows Authentication Basic Client Certificate. On the right side, we have weakest, weak, strong, and strongest. Now, let's read the instruction here. Rank the Hypertext Transfer Protocol or HTTP authentication types shows below in order to relative strength. What do you think would be the correct answer? Which one should be the so we have to follow the order of relative strength. So from the weakest to weak to strong and the strongest. It's supposed to be strong, strongest, strong, weak, and weakest. Now let's think about this. So let's begin counting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is, yeah, Digest is weak, while integrated Windows authentication is strong. Basic is the weakest one, while the client certificate is the strongest one. So if you we follow the order of the relative strength, it should be client certificate is the strongest one, followed by the integrated Windows authentication, strong, followed by digest, weak authentication, while basic is the weakest authentication for the HTTP authentication. All right. Okay. How about question number 3? Match the following security engineering terms on the left to the best definition on the right. Okay. Now, what is risk? What is security treatment? What is protections needs assessment? And what is threat assessment? Okay, think about this slowly. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voila. So risk is a measure that extends to which an entity is threatened by a potential circumstance of event, the adverse impacts that would rise if the circumstance or event occurs, and the likelihood of. Now, security risk assessment is in fact the method used to identify visible security risk, mitigation options and plans. Followed by the protection needs assessment is the method used to identify confidentiality, integrity, and availability requirements for the organization and system assets, and to characterize the adverse impact or consequences. So adverse impact, also known as the consequences, should the asset be lost, modified, degraded, disrupted, compromised, or become unavailable. That's the definition of the term here, protection needs assessment. Now, the threat assessment is the method used to identify and characterize the danger anticipated throughout the life cycle of the system. So this is the correct answer. Yeah, so have a look at the arrow. Yeah, I purposely use different colors for different, definitions and terminologies. Yeah, to link the terminology with the definition and vice versa. Now let's move on to number 4. So we've got non-functional testing, functional testing, structural testing, and regression testing. The instruction says match the following generic software testing methods with their major focus and objective. Yeah, so think about this slowly. Now, I remember that regression testing is all about the changes. So if you have any change or changes, that would be related to regression testing. Okay, so let's begin answering. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is, okay, so let's start with the regression testing. Regression testing definition would be test functionality relates to changes. So regression is about changes. Yeah, that is actually correct. So test functionality relates to changes in software or the environment. Always remember that regression is all about changes. Now, let's move on to the non-functional testing. So non-functional testing usually tests reliability, usability, efficiency, and even performance, as well as compatibility characteristic. Yeah. So when you talk about the load testing, stress testing, that would be most commonly related to non-functional testing. Now, functional testing, in the other hand, is about testing suitability, accuracy, interoperability, and security characteristic. Yeah, like for example, when you talk about testing the calculation, how accurate is the calculation, is about functional testing. Yeah. Now, structural testing is more about testing the control flow, the call hierarchies, components in your menu, and integration characteristics. Okay, so you can see that on the left side we can find the terminologies, and the other side we have the definitions or the explanation about what type of testing we have. Okay, now we've got question number 5. Match the functional roles in an internal audit to their responsibility. So we've got on the left side, we got executive management, audit committee, external auditor, and compliance auditor. Now, think about compliance. Compliance is about what do you call this? The knowledge to comply with, right? So it might be related to develop and maintain knowledge and subject matter expertise relevant to the type of audit. Yeah. So, yeah. Think about this carefully. Now, committee is sometimes, I would say, most of the time related to the oversight or overseeing the process. So we can actually link this audit committee equals to provide audit oversight. Executive management is about approving budget, maybe. Yeah. So let's count and answer the question or do the matching. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Wow, exactly like what I was thinking about. Yeah. So executive management approve audit budget and resource location, while audit committee is about providing the audit oversight or overseeing the audit process as well as the result, and external auditor normally ensure the achievement and maintenance of the organization requirements with applicable certifications. Now, compliance officer, it should be the subject matter expertise and or subject matter experts. Yeah, develop and maintain knowledge and subject matter expertise relevant to the type of audit. That is actually the responsibility of this compliance officer. Yeah. Okay, not really that hard, but still, you need to think carefully before, answering the question. Now, let's move on to number 6. Yeah, match the name of access control modes with its associated restriction. So on the left side, we've got several control models, while on the right side, we have the, restrictions. Yeah. Okay, so let's think about the answer. Tick tock. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I remember that when you talk about role-based access control, is normally related to the job function. So dynamically assign permission to particular duties or duties based on job function would be, or most likely would be, the role-based access control. Yeah. So if it is because or based on the criteria assigned by custodian, it might be related to role-based. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. This is the correct answer. So mandatory access control is related to the end user cannot set controls. So the restriction is end user cannot set controls, while discretionary access control, subject has total control over the subjects, and the discretionary should be based on the owner of the subject, owner of the object. Like for example, if you are the creator or the owner of a particular file, by default you have total control over that object or objects. Now, role-based access control is usually related to assigning permissions, dynamically assigning permission to particular duties based on job function or based on department, for example. So let's say you are a member of programmers, then the administrator can actually assign permissions to the programmers group and then add a user to that particular group, so that or those users who are members of the programmers can have the permissions according to the job function. Now, role-based is normally about dynamically assigned roles to subject based on criteria assigned by a custodian. Like, for example, when you have the role-based access control set on your firewall, for example. Yeah. So this is the correct match, the answer to the question. Now, let's have a look at question number 7. I believe that this might be our last question in our sample questions. Now, match the access control type to the example of control type. So on the left side, we have administrative, logical, technical, and physical. So you have to match the access control with the example. Like, for example, labeling of sensitive data, biometric for authentication, constrained user interface, or even radio frequency identification or RFID badge. Okay, so carefully think about the correct match of the control type on the right side. So let's say constrained user interface might be technical, perhaps. When you talk about a physical, could be like the badge. Badge is related to the physical, like RFID badge or anything. Okay, so let's have a look at the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And bingo, we got the answer. The administrative control is about anything done by the person, like a labeling of sensitive data is an example of the administrative security control. Logical access control could be presented by having biometrics for authentication, and for the technical, we got like constrained user interface. When you configure your interface, based on the programming structure, you can create a constraint over your user interface, which could be GUI, graphical user interface, or even command line. That would be the example of the technical access control type. While physical has the example of having radio frequency identifier or RFID badge. Okay, so yeah, that's actually my last questions. So hopefully by looking at the example questions related to the drag and drop, or they call it as performance questions, performance type of questions, you can have a better understanding about how to deal with this kind of question, how to master this kind of questions, because these questions are quite difficult for some exam candidates or exam takers. Yeah, so carefully read the terminologies and definitions and or definitions in your CISSP glossary and your definitely yours study materials, and try to memorize the terminology versus the definition. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that these tips and tricks will give you an idea about handling the performance type of questions, such as drag and drop questions that I've shown you earlier. Yeah. Okay, good luck for your exam. And if you have any questions, let me know. You can actually reach me through my email, and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you very much, and see you in the next session. Bye bye. Ciao.